I am 81 years old, and I have been sitting with this for a long time. My father died in 1987. I was 43, and I remember standing at his graveside thinking that now, finally, it was over. Not the grief, I mean the waiting. I thought the waiting would stop. It didn't. That's the thing nobody tells you. When the person you're waiting on dies, the waiting doesn't end. It just has nowhere left to go. I want to talk about that, about what it does to a life, about what I gave away trying to earn something from a man who, I think now, simply didn't know how to give it. My father was not a cruel man. I want to be clear about that. He worked. He stayed. He put food on the table and kept the lights on, and never once raised his hand to me. By the measures of his generation, he did what was required. I understand that now. I didn't, for most of my life. What he didn't do was see me. Not in any way that felt real, not in a way that stayed with me. I could come home with something I'd worked hard on, something I was proud of, and he would look at it the way you look at a weather report, briefly, without much interest, then move on. I told myself it was his way. His own father had been the same. I told myself he loved me in a manner that didn't require saying so, and maybe that was true, but the body keeps score, as they say, and mine learned early that approval was something you had to earn, and that the earning never quite got you there. By my 20s, I was working, hard, harder than most people around me. I told myself it was ambition, and part of it was, but part of it, the part I didn't examine, was that I was building a case to present to him. Look what I've done, look what I've become. Tell me now that you're proud. I got promoted at 28. I called him to tell him. He said, "Good, that's good," and then asked if I'd seen the game. I laughed it off. I came home and I worked harder. I married at 31. My wife, Carol, she saw it even then. She was a perceptive woman. She said to me once, not long after we were married, that she worried I was living my life for an audience of one. I told her she was wrong. I believed it when I said it. We had 2 children, a daughter, then a son, and I loved them. I want to say that plainly because what comes next could make it sound otherwise. I loved them completely, but I was not present in the way that mattered. I was in the room, often. I was in the house. But I was also always partly somewhere else, running calculations. How much more did I need to accomplish? When would it be enough? When would he finally say the thing I needed to hear? My daughter turned 8. We had a small party, just family. I remember my father was there, sitting in the corner, and I spent most of that afternoon watching him instead of her, watching to see if he noticed how well I'd done. Nice house, healthy kids, a wife who still smiled at me. I was looking for a nod, something. He ate his cake. He left at 4 o'clock. I don't remember much else about that party. My daughter reminded me of that once, years later. She didn't say it with anger. That would have been easier. She said it with a kind of quiet resignation, like she had long since filed it away and made peace with it. She said, "You were always looking past us, Dad. We could feel it." I didn't argue with her. There was no argument to make. My father had a mild stroke in 1984. He was 71. He recovered reasonably well, but it slowed him down, and for a while I thought, this is it. This is the moment he becomes reflective. This is when people open up. I visited more. I called more. I sat with him in his living room, and I asked questions I had never asked before, about his own father, about his childhood, about what he had wanted from his life. He answered, briefly, without much feeling. He was not a man who trafficked in feeling, and I would drive home afterward with this hollow sensation in my chest that I didn't have the vocabulary for at the time. I know now what it was. It was grief. Anticipatory grief for something I was never going to receive. He died 3 years later, quietly, in a hospital bed, with my mother holding his hand. I was there. I held his other hand. And in those last hours I kept thinking, say it. You don't have to say much, just something, just once. He didn't. He lost consciousness, and then he died, and the thing I had been waiting for my entire adult life simply expired with him. I went back to work 2 weeks after the funeral. Carol thought it was too soon. I told her I was fine. I wasn't fine, but I didn't know how to be not fine, so I did the only thing I knew how to do. I worked. Over the next several years, something shifted in our marriage, not dramatically. Nothing dramatic ever seemed to happen in my life. It was quiet. It was gradual. Carol and I grew into 2 people who lived together comfortably but no longer reached for each other. I think I had spent so many years reaching in one direction that I had forgotten to reach in the direction that actually mattered. She stayed. We're still married. She's 78 now, and her health is not good, and I sit with her most evenings, and there is love there, real love, but there is also the shadow of what we might have been if I had been more present. If I had turned toward her with the same hunger, I turned toward a man who never looked back. My son is 46. He lives about 2 hours away. We talk on the phone, occasionally. He's polite, he's kind. But there is a distance there that I put there, I know that. When he was young and needed me to sit with him, to simply sit, I was often calculating something else. And children absorb that. They learn not to need you. He turned out well. He's good to his own children, in ways I was not good to him. I'm glad for that. I watch it and I feel proud and I feel ashamed at the same time. There's a particular kind of loneliness that comes at this age. It's not about being alone. I'm not alone. Carol is here. It's about looking back at the shape of your life and understanding, really understanding, that you were the author of it. Nobody made me spend those years proving something to someone who wasn't watching. I chose that. I chose it over and over, in small ways, every day, until the choosing had become so habitual I couldn't see it anymore. I can see it now. At 81, there is very little left to distract you from seeing clearly. If you're younger than me, and you're watching this, I'm not going to tell you what to do. I have no interest in that. I just want to tell you what I know. The people who are in front of you are the ones who are actually there. The person you're trying to convince, the one whose approval lives in the back of your mind like a quiet noise, that person may never give you what you're looking for. And even if they do, it may come too late, or feel smaller than you imagined, or change nothing that needs changing. The children at the table notice where your eyes are. That's all I know how to say about it. I have maybe a few good years left, if I'm fortunate. I spend most of them in this chair, or in the garden when my knees allow, or sitting with Carol watching things we've already seen. It's a quiet life, smaller than the life I was building for all those decades. It's enough. I wish I had known sooner that it was enough. My father never told me he was proud of me. I don't know if he was. I don't know what was in him that he couldn't reach. I've stopped being angry about it. Anger takes energy I no longer have to spare. But I think about what I passed on. The habits of distance. The shape of a man always reaching elsewhere. I think about my daughter at her 8th birthday party, looking over at me, and me not looking back. That's what it cost me. That's what the whole thing cost.